Hi everyone! In today's video, I'm going to demonstrate how to crochet a really cute plush narwhal. For this narwhal, you'll need two different colors of yarn. I'm using plush chenille yarn from Hobbii, and it is super bulky, category 6 weight. You can also make this in any other weight and color of yarn if you like. To go along with our yarn, we'll also be using fiberfill stuffing, one pair of 6mm safety eyes, and a 3.25mm hook. I also have a stitch marker on hand to make it easier for me to keep track of my rounds. Alright, let's get started. Our first step is going to be to make a magic ring with our main color. I chose blue to be a main color because I want white to be the color of the belly and the horn later on. If you need help making the magic ring, you can check out my video over here in the top right hand corner. When you're working with plush yarn, it's really important to make sure that your magic ring starts out really small. This is because it can be really hard to tighten your magic ring later, so when you first make it, make sure that it's about the size of a dime or a nickel. Next, we're going to work 8 single crochet stitches into our magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now I'm going to gently pull on the tail so that my magic ring closes. If you find that the magic ring is not closing or that it's too big, and if you pull on the tail then the yarn breaks, that means that your magic ring is too big. The way to prevent this is to, again, start out with a smaller magic ring in the beginning, and also to periodically tighten the yarn as you're working your 8 stitches into the magic ring. If you periodically tighten the magic ring as you're working, that'll result in a smaller ring overall, which makes sure that there's less of a need to tighten it at the end. So I've just finished round 1, and round 2 is to work 8 increases into each stitch. So an increase is just working 2 single crochet stitches into 1 stitch. So that was my first one. And now I'm going to work the second stitch. And there is my first increase. So I've just finished increasing into every stitch, and now I have 16 total stitches in this round. For the next round, we're going to work 1 single crochet and then an increase for a total of 24 stitches. So I'm going to work 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and then work an increase into the following stitch. So that's 1, and then 2 to make the increase, and I'll repeat that all around until I get to the stitch marker. Alright, so I've just finished round 3, and for the next round we're going to work 2 single crochets and then an increase into the third stitch. This will give us a total of 32 stitches. So that's 1, 2, and then here comes the increase. And then I'll repeat that all over again. So 1, 2, and then the increase. Alright, so that was round 4, and now for round 5, we're going to work 3 single crochet stitches and then an increase, and we'll repeat that 8 times all around for a total of 40 stitches. So I'm going to work 1, 2, 3, and then an increase, and I'll repeat that all around. Alright, for round 6 and round 7, we'll just work 1 single crochet into every stitch all around, so that'll also be for a total of 40 stitches. So I've just finished round 7, and at this point your work might start curling inwards. This is a good time to flip your work inside out so that the tail is on the inside of the bowl shape that you're making. Flipping your work inside out makes sure that the right side is facing outwards, which is actually naturally the inside of your work. So you'll have to flip your work inside out at some point during the process, and now is a good time. So after finishing round 7, the next step is to work round 8, which is 7 single crochets and then an increase for a total of 45 stitches. So I'll work 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then an increase. And then I'll just repeat that 5 more times around so that I get a total of 45 stitches. Now it's time to work on rounds 9 through 12. For these next 4 rounds, we'll just single crochet into every stitch all around, so we'll just have 4 more rounds of a total stitch count of 45 stitches. I'll meet you back here when I'm done. Alright, so I've just finished those 4 rounds, and we're now moving on to round 13. So this round is going to be a little more interesting because this is where we're going to work the 2 fins and the tail along the way, and so we're going to get started by working 3 single crochets and a decrease, all of that twice. So I'm going to work 1, 2, 3, and then I'll work my invisible decrease. And then I'll work that whole sequence one more time. So 1, 2, 3, and then my decrease. Alright, so now we're going to work the first fin off the side of round 13. To start the fin, we're just going to chain 4, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to skip the first chain, so we're going to work into the second chain from the hook, and we're going to work 1 single crochet stitch, And then we're going to work 2 more half double crochet stitches in the remaining 2 chains. So 1 half double crochet and then another half double crochet. And then I'm actually going to work 1 more half double crochet and just go right into the stitch that I started. Nice. So now I'm just going to continue in the round and I'm going to work 3 single crochets and then a decrease. So to find the next stitch to work my single crochet in, I'm just going to go to the next stitch in the round, excluding all the stuff with the fin right here. So the next stitch is going to be this single crochet stitch. So then I'm going to work my 3 single crochets. So that's 1, 2, and 3, and a decrease. And then I'm going to work 3 single crochets and a decrease 2 more times. So 1, 2, 3. Decrease. And then 1, 2, 3, decrease. And now it's time to create the tail. So we've just created the fin, that's just going off the side of the whale, and it's time to work the tail. So to work the tail, we're going to chain 4 off the side of the narwhal again. And then beginning from the second chain from the hook, so skipping the first chain and going to the second chain, we're going to work 3 single crochet stitches. So here's 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to work 1 more single crochet just to anchor it in the stitch that I came from. So that's 4 single crochets total. So now, normally for the fin I would just keep going, but since I'm working the tail, I'm going to work 3 more chains. So it's 1, 2, and then 3. And then I'm going to skip the first chain and then work 1, 2 single crochets, and then the last one is just going to be anchoring it again into the original stitch, or the last stitch that I have worked previously in the round. So there we have the tail, and now we're going to continue working the round according to our pattern, which is going to be 3 repeats of 3 single crochets and a decrease. And again, to identify the next stitch to work into after finishing the tail, we're just going to look down here and just pick the next single crochet that's not part of the tail. So 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. So that's the first repeat, and we're going to do that repeat 2 more times. 1, 2, 3. So now we're going to create the last fin, or the second fin, and to do that we're going to repeat the steps from before exactly. So we're going to do 4 chains off the side of round 13, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we're going to skip the first chain and then work into the next chain. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 3 single crochets, and then the 4th one is to anchor it in the stitch that you came from, so right down the middle, right here. And that is our last fin, and so for our remaining stitches, we're just going to do 3 single crochet stitches and then a decrease. So 1, 2, 3, and then I'll work my decrease, and that is the end of round 13. If these steps are confusing to you because of the plush yarn, you can see my other whale video over here because I use a similar technique for creating the fins and the tail, and because it's with acrylic yarn, it's much easier to see. Now we're going to get started on round 14. Before we get started on round 14, we'll need to switch colors to white. So I'm going to grab my white yarn, and in the next stitch, I'm going to insert my hook, and then I'm going to pull up a loop with my last color. I'm going to grab the new color, and now I've just successfully changed to white. So now I can cut the previous color by just cutting a tail, and then I'll just stuff the tail into the amigurumi. I can also bury the tail as I work by crocheting around it. For round 14, we'll need to work 2 single crochets and then a decrease, and we'll just repeat that all around. So I'm going to work 1 single crochet and I'm going to crochet around the tails. 2, and then I'm going to work a decrease just by inserting my hook into the next stitch, pulling up a loop, and then inserting my hook into the next stitch, pulling up a loop, and then yarning over and pulling through all 3 loops. So as we're coming up to our first fin, the way we're going to deal with this is we're essentially just going to crochet around it, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. So I'm going to continue with my pattern of 2 single crochets and then a decrease. I'm going to work 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and then as I get started on my decrease, I'm just going to insert my hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and then I'm going to just dodge around this fin and insert my hook into the next stitch that's right after the fin for the second part of my decrease. And now I'll just yarn over and pull through all 3 loops like normal, and I've completed my decrease and I've just successfully worked around my fin. So I'll just continue in that fashion all the way around, working 2 single crochets and then a decrease, and dodging around the fins and the tail as needed. Now that I've finished round 14, it's time to move on to round 15. For round 15, we'll just work 1 single crochet and then a decrease, and we'll work that a total of 9 times around for a total of 18 stitches. So I'll work 1 single crochet and then I'll work 1 decrease, just like normal. So now that we've finished round 15, it's a good time to insert our safety eyes. For this project, I'm going to use 6mm safety eyes, but you can use any size that you like. I've just inserted my 6mm safety eyes between rounds 12 and 13, counting from the top. You can insert them wherever you want, but I've also included 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 stitches between the 2 eyes, so that can help you figure out where you want your eyes to be. For now, let's keep working on our narwhal. The next round is to decrease into every single stitch, so we'll do a total of 9 decreases and result in 9 stitches remaining. So at this point, the opening at the bottom should be getting pretty small, and after this round, we will work on stuffing our narwhal. Alright, now it's time to stuff our narwhal. So grab your fiberfill stuffing and pull it apart into little chunks, and then we'll lay these little chunks on top of each other to stuff the narwhal. So I'll just gently push in the stuffing with my fingers. And I'm going to stuff until my narwhal is fairly firm, but making sure that none of the stuffing peeks through. If you can still see stuffing through the holes of your stitches, that means that you're crocheting too loosely, and the best solution for that is sizing down your hook and also crocheting more tightly. So I've stuffed it so firmly that if I push in, then the amigurumi just bounces right back, and that's a good level of firmness for it to be. So now it's time for our last round. Our last round is just going to be 4 decreases, and this should make our hole really small so that we can just finish off and weave in the end. So now that we finished the last round, I'm just going to cut a tail of about 8 to 10 inches. And then I'm just going to pull the yarn through. And now we will just weave in the end like this. I'm going to insert my hook across the hole and hook the tail in. And then I'm going to pull it out and just tug gently so that the hole disappears. And then I'll just cut the yarn off where it comes out. And there we have it. The whale part of our narwhal is all done. The next step is just to make the horn, so we'll do that by grabbing our white yarn. For the horn, I'm going to start with a magic ring. And I'm going to make sure to pull the magic ring really, really small, like this. And then we're going to work in 4 single crochets. 1, 2, and I'm going to give the ring a little tug. 3, and 4. And then I'm just going to tug on the tail again to close the ring. I'll insert my stitch marker into the last stitch. And then for the next round, we're going to work 1 single crochet and then an increase into every stitch. So that's the first single crochet, and then I'm going to go into the next stitch and work my increase. And then I'll work 1 more single crochet, and then in the last stitch we're going to be working an increase. And now's a good time to gently flip your work inside out. So for the next round, we're going to be working 2 single crochet stitches and then an increase. And for the last round, we'll just work single crochets all around. Now that our horn is finished, the last step is just to gently stuff the horn using the tail. And then we're going to finish off by cutting a 10-inch tail. And then we'll just pull that through to finish off. So now we're going to attach the horn to the whale body, and we're going to do it with our crochet hook like this. So first, figure out where you want the horn to be. I'm going to put it around here and just pin it down. To attach the horn, the first step is going to be to insert the hook under the surface of the crochet whale and weave your hook under so that you can catch one stitch under your hook. Then grab the tail and gently pull it through. After you pull it through, I recommend pulling the tail through with your fingers so that the yarn doesn't shed too much. After you pull it through, gently give it a tug to secure, and then we're going to insert our hook into the bottom of the horn, like this. And then grab the tail again and pull it through. So repeat these steps, alternating between going under the surface of the whale and going under the horn to attach the horn all around. After you finish securing the horn, we'll just bury the tail in the same way as before. I'm going to insert my hook anywhere near the horn, come up right under where the tail is, and then pull the tail through. So the tail should come out on the other side. You pull it through, and then we'll just cut the tail off right at the surface. If you can still see the tail, I'll just push it back in with the hook, and you're all set. Your no-sew narwhal is complete. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you liked it and want to see more, please subscribe and comment below with what other projects you'd like to see. Thank you so much for watching.